you.
That's good. It's very good for your system. Hello, how are you? It's a joy to have you with us on Destination Newry. Jane Hudson is with me, called after the great river, and Ruth Hall is with me too. These are guys who, with interests in the area of inflammatory bowel disease. Not a very nice thing, Ruth.
No, it can be quite a debilitating condition for a lot of people.
Yeah. How does it manifest? How would I know if I had inflammatory bowel disease?
Well, a lot of the symptoms really include abdominal pain,
and
diarrhea. Can be bloody diarrhea.
Oh God, yes.
Weight loss, loss of appetite,
Yeah.
and increased fatigue and lethargy.
My goodness.
And then some people have other conditions as well. Some people have fistulas and abscesses, and some people can have extra manifestations of the disease, so such as problems with their eyes, problems with their skin, or problems with their joints.
It's
so
a nasty ball of blue, isn't it?
Absolutely it is, and I think it sometimes is underestimated. It can be very distressing for people that are suffering from it.
Yeah, we shouldn't underestimate anything like that. Is it terminal?
No, it's not terminal. It can be treated very effectively in many cases. However, it really is about prompt investigation and good management.
Yeah.
And then we have a lot of medical treatments which we use at Daisy-Hill and Craigavon. And we bring patients in then as day cases for those treatments, or indeed we often use surgery.
Yeah.
So it really just depends on the patient, and it depends. There's no one size fits all.
I understand.
However, we do have pathways, and we have ways of treating certain types. It depends really at what stage it's at and really what your diagnosis is.
Jane, you're a specialist nurse with the trust.
That's correct.
Yeah, and that's Ruth. Jane, you're a patient. You experienced this awfulness in your life.
I did.
Did you ever get the notion, well, thank God it's that, it could be a whole lot worse?
Oh, absolutely.
From the early days, yeah.
Well, perhaps I think that would be my perspective now.
Aye.
When it was at its height in the 80s, I did find it very challenging.
Yeah, so it stays with you from the 80s to the 2000s.
Yes.
It's never going to go away, is that right? You manage it?
I manage it,
That's
yes.
good. That's
yes,
good.
indeed.
When did you first twig that you were getting this thing?
I went to Scotland. I'd finished at University of Ulster. I went to Scotland and I was going to take over the world. A career opened up in the health service.
Yes.
And but sadly, I was there just 3 months in Edinburgh on a management scheme, and I realised that I was suffering most of the symptoms that Ruth has described. And I came home, and my GP then referred me to Craigavon Hospital. Spent that Christmas in the hospital, and very soon I was diagnosed as having Crohn's.
Yeah, Crohn's disease.
Yes.
Members of my family have Crohn's. I know relatives have Crohn's disease. But it's significantly and importantly, it's not the end of your world.
Absolutely not, and that's what I would be very keen to promote, that living with Crohn's, certainly I live life to the full, Rowan.
Good.
I certainly do, yes.
Good. And have you assuaged the worst awfulnesses of the illness? Are you pain-free, for example?
Well, I can manage my diet to ensure that I minimise the discomfort.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the best way of describing
What would you eat,
it.
for example? What would your diet be in a normal day?
Well, like everyone else, I can start off with cereal. I would tend to use low residue, low fibre foods.
Low fibre?
Yes, to minimise
That's the
discomfort.
very opposite to what we're being told. Non-Crohn's have been told.
Yes.
Get lots of fibre into you, it'll do you good.
Yes, well, I've had surgeries over the years, and then I no longer have the part of my bowel that can tolerate
I understand that,
and manage the fibre. Yes.
But listen, isn't medical science absolutely wonderful?
Oh, yes.
What they were able to do for you.
Absolutely, yes, indeed.
And you're so beautiful.
Oh, well.
You know, you're a great human being.
But I'm just so thankful that that each morning I have a feeling of well-being, and with very little medication I can manage a fun living life.
Yes, that sounds good to me. Ruth, is it prevalent in our community.
It is, yeah, and our rates are increasing all the time, certainly since I took up post 2 years ago. You know, the amount of people who have been diagnosed and who are coming through our system really have increased. However, it's sometimes very hard to be absolutely sure what our figures are. A lot of patients are managed in primary care, so through their GP, then they are referred in when required into secondary care into ourselves in the hospital, and then we follow them up. We do work very much in partnership with the GPs to try and manage that. But yes, certainly the prevalence is rising right across the UK.
Why?
Well, in truth, we're still ongoing research really to try and find the answer to that. In terms of what's causing it, we know there are certain things that can contribute to the cause of it, but we're not absolutely sure. So, for example, we know that their genetics plays a role, so everyone has their own individual genetic makeup. And we know that it certainly can be hereditary and it can run in families. So, you know, you for example mentioned that there were, did you say a couple in your
Yeah, there's one person in our family who has it. He's not direct lineage. He's a person with my relative by blood married this person.
Right. Okay.
He developed this. It wasn't sort of just suddenly it was there. God love him.
That's the way it happens. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We also know then as well that there are certain, you know, triggers or things that can kick it off. But that's the whole area where there's a lot of research going on.
What at the moment do we think
certain.
triggers it off? What do you know?
Well, we know that it's more prevalent in the Western world than it is in third world countries.
Now, what's that telling us?
So that's telling us that it's more common really in our population, so across the UK and a part, you know, our
let's think about that for a minute.
Countries.
Let's do a bit of research on the trot here.
Yes.
What's the difference? You know, the developing world diet, Western developed world diet, what are the differences? It's more fundamentally basic in the developing world. We have all the sophistication of the cell buys and all the stuff that you put into it and all that kind of thing. So that maybe stuff in the food.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It could certainly play a role. You know, the foods and the extra additions.
Yeah.
However, don't forget we also are a very health conscious nation. So therefore we have very high sanitation. We have very good hygiene. Over here we are very much regulated, so we really don't know. Are people in third world countries exposed to other things which then prevents them? So this is where the area
maybe
of research...
too clean. I'm just guessing here. You know, I don't expect you to have a professional view on it, but if you think about it, you know, there's people who go for colonic irrigation, for God's sake, and stuff that's supposed to be in you, biological and bacteriological stuff, supposed to be there keeping you well. And they're washing all of this out, stuff like that.
That's true. Your
extrapolation
natural
of that
bacteria.
point of view.
Yeah.
God,
certainly, that's very true, Rowan, and that's the whole area really that is ongoing.
Yes.
However, it's very important to emphasise the importance to patients and to people, to your listeners as well, that you know that high hygiene is still very important, and that certainly watching what you eat can help. But I would very much want to emphasise the importance of a well-balanced diet.
Yeah.
So yes,
what is a well-balanced diet?
Well, a well-balanced diet really is looking at your major food areas and really trying to eat what you like, but also looking at making sure you're getting your fruit and vegetables, making sure you're getting your protein, making sure you're getting an element of fat, making sure you're getting an area, you know, an amount of dairy, so that you're looking really at your food pyramid, which is helping you to make sure that you're getting all your essential nutrients, because that's what we worry, is that sometimes there are wacky diets out there and different things suggested that then we worry the people aren't getting the nutrients that they need. And then if we're given medical intervention, we worry that maybe they're not able to withstand some of the associated side effects and things that can be if they're not getting the right nutrients.
You see, this is interesting because I was told I had slightly raised cholesterol.
Right, okay.
Don't eat any dairy, don't eat any red meat. So I went off dairy and red meat. And then I suddenly realised I was vitamin B deficient.
That's right, yeah.
And I was sort of starting to go down the tubes of So I think it's important to say to folk, get advice about dairy.
Absolutely.
Because I don't know, you know. I think I'm doing well if I have my blueberries in the morning, nothing else, pint of water, blueberries, 200 grams of blueberries, nothing else for the rest of the day until 7 o'clock at night, when I have a dinner the size of my fist and no bigger. But I'm still sitting at 12.5 stone. So, and I'm taking these up. People need advice.
Yes,
on
that's
what's
right.
the right thing to do.
And again, everyone is individual. So, and you know, as a nurse, I am a patient advocate. So I am there for the patient and I'm there to work with the patient. And if a patient feels particularly strongly about something, or they feel that a certain food type irritates things, then I would certainly look at saying, okay, then let's look at how we can reduce the amount of that you're eating. But is there something else you can take which will then supplement what you're missing out on?
It's actually quite a scientific thing.
Well, it is, but it also is just sometimes taking a step back and having a look at it. And sometimes I think that's where, yes, I'm very much a healthcare professional, but I see myself as that link for the patient between the doctors and the patient, where I can sit down with them on a one-to-one and just say, do you understand what's been happening, and do you know where exactly you're at? This is where we've been. This is what we think could help. But also those extra things that you mentioned, such as diet, and such as the things that worry them, because we also worry about the distress element of this condition, and we worry about extra factors in people's lifestyle which can bring on periods of high pressure for the patient, and sometimes that in cases just exacerbates the whole thing. So it's how I can link with the patient to try and reassure them, and perhaps look at things like that you mentioned, such as diet or such as lifestyle factors, and give them more relaxation and help them to actually to realise what's happening.
Jane, no stress. Don't sweat the small stuff.
Good advice, Rowan.
And are you implementing that? Are you able to do that?
I try to, yes, indeed. I enjoy my yoga and Pilates. But
can you put your legs behind your head and all of that?
I can, yes.
Suffering most.
But I attend weekly because I feel and know that it's beneficial, ensuring that my bones remain strong.
Absolutely.
As well as all the other benefits that derive from it. And walking, of course, too.
Yeah.
But I think I love to learn. I love to head out on adventures. So I think it's important to recognise the things that do lift your heart, the things that you really enjoy.
But there's a huge altruist in you, because you've joined the Patient Council.
Absolutely, yes.
Now, what is that about?
We call it our patient panel.
Panel, yes.
And soon after Ruth's appointment, we were delighted to hear about an opportunity to have a forum, a platform where we as patients can liaise and talk to Ruth about issues that would be beneficial to other patients. And we've been around for just over a year now, and we've had the opportunity to look at many interesting aspects, including the psychological issues that Ruth has mentioned. We've looked at IBD standards. We've looked at NICE, the National Institute of Health Care Excellence. We've been able to look at those standards and have an input, which from a patient's perspective is really quite rewarding. To know that we aren't just an empty voice, that we can put forward suggestions. It will be listened to and perhaps then built into future developments.
Do you find, Ruth, that in the matter of research, that you're not a fashionable area for to be researched? That the cancers get the research, the heart disease get the research, but that you're away down here somewhere and you're fighting for the...
I think what you mentioned earlier, though, has changed that, and that's our prevalence. So we know that because it has increased and that more people are being diagnosed, that we need to look deeper and we need to look more. We work very closely with Crohn's and Colitis UK, and they support a lot of research which is ongoing. And in Northern Ireland, we're very fortunate because we have direct links with the UK, but also we link with the Irish Cancer Society, or the Irish, Research Society as well.
In the south of Ireland? Yeah.
So we can link very closely with consultants from Dublin, for example. So we look at what research we can be involved with. But No, I think that research is required in all areas, and I think that looking at whether it's medical research or diagnostic research, which is all very important, it's also looking at the patient's quality of life. And I think this is something which is very important, and it really is at looking at how we can improve that. So for example, you know, we've been involved in studies on looking at distress for patients with IBD. And
is that a psychological distress?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's to do with colostomies and things like that.
It can be, but it's also physically as well, how they'll cope with this on a day-to-day basis.
But we are a people of coping, aren't we? The human condition demands that we cope. If the dinosaurs had been able to cope, they would have got out of the way of the asteroid, you know, and they'd still be on the Earth. So we're clever, and you know, you're managing everything beautifully. You know, it's all great, and
yes,
you know,
when you're well.
Or are there periods you're down?
But yes, this is a condition that has relapses. I'm certainly in what we would call remission. I don't have active Crohn's, to the best of my knowledge, at the present time. But for patients, just the uncertainty can be a huge challenge, a challenge in their working life, a challenge in their family life, a challenge in all areas of their lives. And then there are the times when they are debilitated, where fatigue is almost overwhelming, and it's very challenging to have a very positive attitude, to maintain healthy outlook in life.
Your yoga's doing it. Your Pilates is doing it. Meditation is doing it. A weekend at a Buddhist monastery will do it. It's anything like that. It lifts your eyes above the horizon of the ordinary.
Yes, provided that you're physically at that stage of your recovery.
Yes.
But post-operatively, and for other patients that aren't needing to go down the surgical route, there are times when they are so fatigued and a high malaise, and they're just not always able to have the buoyancy and have that sense of well-being that they long for and that they miss in their lives.
Ruth, the relapses, I know it's hard to say, everyone's an individual, as you
absolutely,
make a point, but by and large, how often do the relapses occur?
Patients all vary completely.
Yeah.
A lot of people can relapse quite soon after each other. And this is where we look at our medical intervention. So it really is about getting patients onto the right treatment quite quickly. So again, it will often depend on whether you've got Crohn's or ulcerative colitis. And if what we aim to do is to look at getting people onto treatment to try and minimise the relapses. However, we always know that the chance of a relapse is there.
Yeah.
It's how we manage, and as we've set up a telephone helpline which patients can contact me directly on.
Have you that number here with you?
I do, yeah.
We shouted at us. Andrew will put it on the screen as well.
Yeah, that's grand.
What is it?
And this is for patients who've been diagnosed with inflammatory bowel disease, then they can contact me. It's 077
077
88
88
726
726
875
875.
Yeah.
That's 077 88 726 875, and that'll get you talking.
So people who have been diagnosed with ulcerative colitis and Crohn's, that's the helpline that they can contact me on within the Southern Trust. However, for people who are interested in the condition, or for people who are wanting to seek more information about ulcerative colitis and Crohn's, they can go to the Crohn's and Colitis website, which is www. .crohnsandcolitis.
How's it spelled?
CRO.
RON.
No H.
CROH.
Yeah. NS. Crohn's and colitis.
CROHNS.
Yeah.
And colitis?
Yeah. COLITIS.
Crohn's and colitis.
.org.uk.
We have it there. That's all good. That's Crohn. Yeah, that's. So listen to me. It's
sorry.
No, please.
Just for your listeners again, our referral pathway really is through your GP. So again, if you develop any of the symptoms, a lot of the symptoms that we've described sometimes can be easily confused with other conditions that are out there, particularly irritable bowel syndrome. So we would stress that the best way to go forward and seek advice really is through your GP.
Yeah.
And then if your GP feels that you need to be referred, he'll refer you through to the gastroenterologist or through the surgical route as appropriate.
Ruth, I'm very pleased and proud that you're there for our community.
Thank you.
You're a great person. And I say
Thank
this
you.
as the father of nurses. Two of my daughters are nurses.
Oh,
and
very good.
you are wonderful people, and thank you. You have a rich tradition behind you. Oh, tradition, great caring. And you're a brave person and a determined person.